Come on, Chuckles, you gotta draw a beat on that hiss before it draws a beat on you.
Oh, you just caught me unboxing my Classified Series HISS tank from Hasbro Pulse. Welcome to Pegwarmers. I'm Kevin, and I'm here to talk about toys. Today, we're checking out the Haslab HISS tank. The HISS tank's art box is a little bit different from the usual Classifieds boxes. It does have some stylized art on it, which is used throughout the G.I. Joe brand, but there's no picture of the toy really on here. It's all iconography, you know, like paintings of the tank, a logo for the HISS tank here on the top. But it looks great. There's actually like a red line schematic for it on the bottom, similar to the old toys. And then the rest of it comes packaged in some brown boxes. This one with a Cobra logo, this one with the Cobra HISS logo, which seems to be inspired by the Moray here, having that style of Cobra snake on it. I assume this box contains the figures. My assumption was correct. Here it looks like I've got some instructions and possibly stickers. The Cobra HISS driver, the Cobra HISS gunner, the Cobra HISS tactician in a special box that shows tribute to Ron Rudat. I love this. And the Haslab exclusive Mickey Mouse Cobra Commander for Classifieds. So that leaves this large brown box for the HISS tank, which one would expect. Some of the alternate panels and things are tucked in here. Holy smokes, this thing is massive. It's just hard to imagine. You know, 6-inch scale and G.I. Joe vehicles. This is a 3 3/4 inch version of this tank. Look at how big it is. I almost feel like the door in the back could fit this tank inside it. Not actually, but it almost feels like it. This tank is basically the size of the front driver compartment. This is one of the reissues from Walmart from not too long ago. I have the vintage HISS tank. I have a couple of them, but they're buried down here somewhere. This was the first black version I could find. I have an orange one and a red one. So there are repaint options available for this thing if Hasbro thinks that there's fan support for it. I don't know if they're going to go that route or not, but it is humongous, and the tank treads work, which is really pretty fun. Put this platform down. How does the back troop compartment area work? Well, the tow hitch flips down. There it is. Comes down like a ramp. Not wide enough for a baby HISS tank to be deployed out the back. That would have been pretty funny. And that's the troop compartment, or the tactician compartment. There is a seat in there and sort of a dangling cup for the legs of the HISS gunner. So I have to put this together. I have to decide, how do I want this to look? I can go classic, plain, clear windshield, or I can go with the sleek Classifieds red outline that has the side opening, hatch and everything, which is super cool. Like, I like a lot of the stuff that they have designed for this, the classified look for it. But you guys know I'm a sucker for the vintage look for things. So I do think I am going to be assembling mine a la the original. So this does worry me a little bit too. You know, they have an engineering department. They probably know what they're doing. But I definitely get nervous about switching something like this several times. Don't break it. I can't get that to go in. I'm going to put the other windshield back in its little baggie here. There was like a cling wrap on these that would keep them super clean. But I took it off because I want to be able to show it off a little bit. I got it 3/4 of the way in here. there we go. Alright, HISS tank canopy, working. There is a 5-point harness in here, which seems a little bit much. It's not a race car. It is, well, it's the high-speed Century tank, but 5-point harness in a tank seems excessive, especially when you have to, like, jump out before it explodes all the time. The fold-down ladders are pretty cool to make it easier for troops to get on and off. Kind of a subtle detail that is always sort of ignored with the 3 3/4 inch stuff. I've got my turret up top here, which needs the cannons. And these are pretty accurate to the original one. Oh, there's like a steering yoke. I guess that's for the turret itself. Not really something I'd ever thought about, because the original one just had some minor decals on it. Ah, and these are independently articulated. Alright. Now that's a HISS tank. The other thing we have is the armored plates for the side. There's these ones with the red details on them and a little bit of, like, striping. And then there's the more vintage ones. I kind of like the one with the extra armor. Gives you a little bit more plating. It's a little bit bigger. But again, I think I'm going for the original look, the vintage look, so I'm probably going to stick with these smaller plates. That pops in there relatively easily. I feel like the one side went in easier than the other. There we go. Alright. And then there's a lot of extra pieces. There's these snap-on missile launchers. Oh wow, the missiles still use the dumbbell system like the old toys. That's kind of cool. Misfire there. There are little ports underneath here where these are going to peg in if you want to really deck this thing out. This is the chin mount gun. This whole thing has lights in it, too. I haven't looked at the instructions at all, can you tell? Chin mount gun I might actually put on. There's also some other smaller cannons that can go on the turret here, which feel pretty unnecessary to me. You've got your main gun. If they were like mounted on the back for guys on the back to use, maybe. I mean, how many guns can the gunner actually operate at one time? So I took a moment to figure out where the battery compartment is, and I've got it in some sort of auto mode here. So right now there's no lights on the HISS tank. That lights up the dashboard inside, which is a really cool looking effect. Now I'm projecting the Cobra logo. You can see that shining out of there. It's upside down if I shine it on me. Shine it on my hand. It's hard to see there. The guns do get in the way. These front guns, unless you tilt them all the way down, they do interfere with the projection. I inserted these front guns. I don't know how to get them back out. Not sure if that's a one-time only deal there. Kind of stinks if it is. It seems spring-loaded, the little plug that you push up in, but I also, again, didn't want to break it, trying to pull that out. There are other headlight options here, but the instruction sheet does tell you, like, 1 tap does this, 2 taps does that, you know, so you can kind of figure out which mode you want it in. I don't plan to store batteries in mine. It didn't come with batteries in it, and that's probably a good thing because probably a lot of people are going to keep a few of these things sealed, and you wouldn't want it getting corroded inside there. The headlights do look pretty cool. They're definitely powerful. I always feel like I don't need these features on my toys. Drives up the cost having the electronics. They do look really cool, though. But I personally know that I don't want to have to, like, pick things up and hit buttons and things like that for display. But it's pretty perfect that this is just tucked underneath the body of the tank. There's no flipping it over. So if you have this on display where you can easily reach it, you can easily turn on those lights. And that's pretty good design right there. The Cobra HISS was the very first Cobra vehicle I ever owned. I don't know if you guys know this backstory. I'm sure I've talked about it before, but I don't know specifically which episode. But my introduction to G.I. Joe toys was a neighbor kid outgrew his G.I. Joes and gave them to me. Passed down a box of figures, and they were the basically 83, 84 characters. All swivel arm, battle grip. There were no, 82 Joes in there. But they were, mostly generic green shirts. Probably the most interesting characters from a youthful standpoint was the HISS driver, Spirit, and maybe Mutt and Junkyard. Otherwise, it was like Silverpad's Grand Slam, Clutch, Hawk, Grunt, and Short Fuse. So there was just a lot of kind of green shirts in there. And that was my introduction to G.I. Joe. I didn't know a lot about it, but then eventually I did see some of the 84 cartoon show, or the 85 cartoon show, which started to introduce me to a lot of the characters, and I started getting G.I. Joes of my own then shortly after that. But so I always had the HISS tank. My turrets were broken, so they always rested down. The windshield was pretty scuffed, and I often took the turret off to shove a few guys inside if I wanted somebody to be smuggled into Cobra Base. So the fact that they have added a crew compartment on this is pretty cool. That is actually something I didn't check out yet with the figures in place. The crew compartment is definitely something I have not checked out with the lights on yet. I find this door tricky to open. Oh, there we go. Hurts my thumb a little bit. Oh, look at that. In whatever mode I have it on, opening the door lights up that crew compartment. Oh, it's got to be at just the right angle there. That is pretty cool, having the crew compartment illuminated like that. The tank is beefy. It's solid. It feels well made. It looks really nice. Everything kind of moves nicely. This turret does come out pretty easy, but there may be a better way to kind of hook this in. Kind of like the vintage. There must just be a certain spot where it comes out easy, and any place else it stays on much better. It's really cool. I really want to start checking these guys out. I am not saving the boxes to these guys. I know they're Haslab exclusives and whatnot. I can't store cardboard anymore. I will keep the main art box to this tank, and the rest of it's got to go. I just can't store it anymore. It's driving me crazy. Too much cardboard. There he is, the HISS driver. He's got his footlocker here. Cobra Gunner. This is a HISS driver with a feminine build. Her footlocker. I may save this one, or at least the front. This Ron Rudat tribute I think is pretty cool. So the tactician who's supposed to sit in the inside of the tank, this is based on a color study. So Ron Rudat designed the Cobra logo and the HISS tank probably, and pretty much all of the early figures. And he would do color studies. So he would take a drawing he made of a character and photocopy it a bunch of times and then color them in with markers in different paint schemes to decide which way they wanted to go. Management would kind of take a look at them and they would decide. And he did one that was sort of the reverse of the HISS driver, where it was black with some red details. And this one didn't get used, but it is fantastic looking. And Haslab did a fan poll for people that backed the tank. We got to pick, and this is a really cool figure. So I've got the figures out of the package, and they look beautiful, but I have one huge beef that I can't stand about toy design. Why is this gun made so it's almost impossible for them to hold? This is not a real figure. This is not a real person. It's not real military tech. So why are you giving us a gun where the handle has a closed grip around it and there's a stock immediately after it? This is so hard to put in a figure's hand. Hasbro, I know you can do better. And I knew this was coming because I could see it in the digital render. I hate this. People always made fun of the old Joes, like a shotgun having a stick handle on it. Yeah, but then a figure can hold it. This stuff sucks. And we've been getting it for years from Hasbro, and I wish they'd stop. Rant over. So the HISS driver looks fantastic. Blue armor with the silver symbol. He's got his tall black boots on. He's got a small pistol holstered there. He comes with his assault weapon with bayonet. Good luck putting that in his hand. Maybe I'll try, just so I can eat my words. No, this is going to be a pain in the neck. I have no idea how you're supposed to do this. It doesn't fit. Hasbro, did you do this? Did you play with the toy before you made it? Sorry, I'm trying to be positive here. I hate that. I think the HISS tank driver looks really cool. It's a really nice representation of the original figure. He does have a little, like, techno bit on his wrist, and his hands are replaceable with some, like, boxing glove hands. I don't know if those are supposed to be, like, shock weapons, like the shocker from Spider-Man, or if they are, like, training gloves. I'm just not really sure what the intent of the alternate fist hands are there. He doesn't really need a lot of accessories, though, because he's going to live in the cockpit of the tank. The Cobra Gunner, which, of course, is pretty much interchangeable with the driver. You could put her in the cockpit and put him in the gun turret if you wanted to. She comes with a larger array of accessories, but she was kind of a secondary tier, so they kind of plussed her up a little bit more. She, again, has the silver Cobra symbol on the blue chest armor. She comes with another copy of that gun. She has her own versions of those powered-up fists. She's got an insane gun with a huge ammo magazine on it that's pretty cool. Of course, you could give this to whoever, but it is an impressive weapon. And then she has some more tools or melee-type weapons. She has a shovel and a crazy-looking pickaxe. And then, of course, we've got the Cobra HISS Tactician, who has a red Cobra logo on black chest armor. He's sort of the inverse, but no real silver besides the visor on his helmet. His helmet matches the driver's helmet, but his body, is where all the differences are. He has basically a black jumpsuit instead of a red jumpsuit, and his chest armor is a little different. He comes with a red version of that gun that I don't like, and he comes with red versions of the fists, the punching gloves. He also has the little tech readout wrist piece. And these guys are really, really nice. Love the figures. I am hoping that we get a repaint at some point in blue of Rip It, who is a character version of the HISS driver from the 2000s era. They could do a lot of different things. There have been some orange HISS drivers released as well with a special version of the tank. I'm not sure they're as popular, but Rip It kind of stands out and has been issued a few times, including with this Walmart tank that I mentioned earlier in the episode. There's a blue version of the HISS driver here. So going back to my conversation about the HISS tank being the first Cobra vehicle I ever had, it was manned by a HISS driver who was missing a leg. My neighbor gave me a HISS driver with most of his silver symbol rubbed off and a leg broken off at the waist piece. The T-bar was still intact, and I found a stick that was just the right length in the yard that I could wedge in behind the T-bar, and it would stay in there, and he could stand with his foot and the peg leg. And my friends and I, the kids that I grew up with playing G.I. Joe with, we called him Peggy the Peg Leg. The good thing was that when you put him in the tank, he didn't need a leg to drive the tank. He was very handy capable. But, to have him stand outside the tank or in the Cobra base or whatever, he had to use his wooden stick. I kept that stick in my accessory bin for years. I don't know for sure if I still have it at this point, but I had it for a very long time at least. But I eventually replaced his lower half in a trade I worked out with a guy, another fellow collector, when I was probably in my 20s. I traded some parts for a lower half of a HISS driver and replaced my HISS driver's lower half. So Peggy finally got a replacement leg that didn't have to be a stick from the backyard. So I do kind of wonder if the HISS gunner would be easier to put in the driver's seat because of having the smaller frame. Oh, there we go. Okay, so the 5-point harness actually comes apart in the center of the harness, not up top or anything like that. So then you can lift the top part strap up and then just straddle the lower part. I guess I'll put the driver in the driver's spot. That's where he's supposed to go, right? I don't know if the seatbelts would look a little loose on the gunner if I put her in there as the driver. I don't like the 5-point harness already, looking at it. It hides that beautiful Cobra symbol on the driver's torso. And this also just feels hard to do. I guess it's cool for realism's sake, but it's kind of annoying me. Well, I got the gunner in there pretty easy. So maybe she's the one that's going in there for me. And I'll put the driver up here in the turret. And then, of course, we need the tactician in the back here. This is really hard to do. It really hurts my thumb to open this. Oh. Alright, the lights opened up again. The lights turned on. The tactician has a seat there. There are clips for their accessories, like an armory wall in here. The Tactician feels a little bit cramped in there. In a lot of ways, I feel like the Tactician needs the seatbelt more than the driver, because the Tactician's just going to fall out of that seat in the back, and his head's going to get banged around by this turret rotating up there. Now that I have the tank set up a little bit better, I want to talk about some of these add-ons a little bit more. There is an additional armor plate here you can put on. It makes the front of this look a little bit more like the G.I. Joe Whirlwind. Just kind of defends your operator a little bit more there. There are ports on the side here. So we can add on that missile rack if we want the extra guns on the turret here. We can add these mini guns on and really deck this thing out. There's also these small pieces. I don't know if these are like auto launchers or something to dispense with foot troops that try and attack the tank. I gotta look on the instructions again and figure out where those go. But all in all, this thing is pretty souped up. The last tiered item for this Haslab is the Mickey Mouse Cobra Commander figure. This is a classic Cobra Commander cartoon-ish, original action figure-ish style figure with that odd Cobra logo from the original run. I assume we're going to get this guy in the retro collection at some point with the regular symbol, and so I'm choosing to keep mine carded. I would love to have this Cobra Commander out and on display right now, but I know as soon as we get him with the regular symbol, that's the one I would choose to display. So I'm keeping this guy carded because he came with the Haslab, and I think he's a better carded display piece. He does have some cool accessories, and I have a feeling we won't get all of those with the retro carded figure. Unfortunately, he has the snake with the globe and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out, but I'm comfortable with that choice of keeping this guy carded, for now, at least. So overall, the Haslab team... the G.I. Joe design team did a phenomenal job on this HISS tank. It is huge. It is cool looking. It has all the features that you would expect. Everything seems to work pretty well. The seatbelt in the front, I'm not wild about that. And the troop seat in the back is a little bit awkward. Maybe as I play with it some more, I'll figure that out. I don't know if I showed this off. There is a tow hitch that can fold down. And this platform also goes up and down to kind of simulate the old ridge for troops on the tank, but so it doesn't interfere when it folds down into the ramp format. I do still have the front turret on there because I couldn't figure out how to get that back off, but also I kind of like that. That's sort of the classifiedness where it's slightly updated of the original tank in my mind. Super cool. The design team did a great job. I can't imagine how cool the Dragonfly is going to be because it's going to be huge. The Haslab vehicles are really cool but really expensive. I'm excited to see what this looks like next to the Vamp. I'm excited to see what this looks like with the MMS that they're going to do, or the SMS that kind of attach to it. There are a lot of cool things coming from Classifieds, and I just love what they're doing. I think that this line has exceeded my expectations with the original first wave figures just kind of being like, oh, okay, we're doing something new with G.I. Joe, and them now doing these kinds of things that are like almost faithful recreations of the original figures, but with the detailing that, you know, goes along with the collector scale 6-inch figures. These are sort of the Masters of the Universe classics of the G.I. Joe world, and that's pretty impressive. So overall, I am very excited to have this thing in my collection. Let me know in the comments down below if you picked one up and what you thought of it. I'm sure there are a million unboxings and reviews. I've actually been chit-chatting with HCC788 today while I was filming this, and he was talking about his review. I'm sure his is even more thorough than mine. Mine's a little bit more of a reaction and just kind of checking it out video versus me showing off every single feature in detail. It's just not my style. But I'd love to hear from you guys, and thanks so much for hanging on the peg with me.
Next time, Chuckles, use the rocket launcher.